And I want to kind of leave us off here by asking this question. And this is a post that the Jain Vegan Initiative and the Global Jain Network just put out this morning. Many of you have probably seen it, which asks the questions, should Jains protect and speak out for animals? And the answer to that question, when we look at Jain history, is a resounding yes, we should. Of course, there are many more examples that could be given, but there's just a few here I want to say, especially for those of us who are joining, who are not necessarily from within the Jain tradition and may not know about them. But Jains have had compassion for animals, both from the standpoint of being inactive and not harming them, but also active towards relieving their suffering. And two great examples of that are two of the Tirthankaras, or the great spiritual leaders within the Jain tradition, Neminat and Mahavira. So you see Mahavira on the left here, sitting in his meditative posture before enlightenment. Before he had his enlightenment, he had this feeling when he's meditating with his eyes open, that nothing around him wants to be harmed or injured. He has this beautiful insight, and it's really the foundation of so many of the movements towards compassion and nonviolence within the Jain tradition. In the next one, you see Neminat Bhagwan. So this is another one of the great spiritual teachers within the Jain tradition. There are 24 of them. On the way to his own wedding procession, he heard animals who were being prepared, they were tied up, they were being prepared to be slaughtered for his own wedding feast. And when he heard the animals crying, he asked the driver of his elephant, why are these animals crying? And what the driver told him is that these animals are being prepared for your own wedding feast. And when Neminat heard that, he had this moment of compassion and insight where he asked for all of the animals to be released. And not only did he do that, he had such an insight into the suffering that occurs within this world towards these animals that he actually renounced, and he became, again, one of the great spiritual masters and teachers within the Jain tradition. If that's not activism connected to spirituality, I don't know what is. I mean, it was such a beautiful and inspiring story that continues to inspire today. There have also been just regular people like you and me, scholars and householders and people who are not necessarily full monks or nuns within the Jain tradition, who have also been proactive towards helping animals. And one of the great scholars who you see here on the bottom right is Acharya Hamachandra, who, while serving as the advisor to the king Kumarapala in Gujarat, actually got the king to illegalize, in certain ways, the slaughter and torture of animals within the kingdom. So there you have a Jain scholar, just a person living a normal life, teaching the king that we should institutionalize within the kingdom, within the nation, forms of nonviolence to avoid causing harm to other creatures. So I think these are just some of the great examples of how Jains have historically spoken out for animals and continue to do so. And it's in the spirit of this kind of speaking out, this kind of activism, this kind of compassion and drive for nonviolence that we're holding this event today.